Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Like, comment, subscribe. All these other podcasts and shows do this. They tell you to like, comment, and subscribe early. We never do. We're just like, let's just get into the good stuff. But please, if you like the stuff, like it. If you have anything to comment on, we respond to just about every single comment. We do what up
Try to at
Windbags.
least.
We do what up Windbags every Wednesday. We like to keep the conversation flowing. This is a safe space for Raider fans. Join the conversation, tell your friends, like, comment. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're adding way more shows because there's just way more stuff to talk to. Like, we're like, all right, we'll just do like Wednesday shows, post-game shows. Like, that'll get us covered. But they're just like, this crazy Raiders season. There's just nonstop stuff. Like, it's just, you just can't get enough.
Of stuff. Well, the thing is, too, is the more interactive you guys are, it kind of gives us a little bit more of a guideline of what kind of content you guys like, and we'll create more stuff. So just kind of keep the comments coming, keep the likes and comments coming, and we'll create more content for you guys.
All right. So how do the Raiders get into the playoffs? Currently 6-5, just barely on the outside looking in of the AFC playoff picture, right? So here's a look at the AFC playoff picture. You got Ravens, the 1 seed by half a game. The surging Patriots won 6 in a row, 8-4. Tennessee Titans starting to flounder. Kansas City kind of feeling like it's back to its old self. And then the wild card, Bengals, Bills, Chargers. Lost to the Bengals, lost to the Chargers already. Of course, we'll get another shot at the Chargers in the very last game of the season. And then we're on top of all the guys in the hunt. We got the tiebreaker over the Broncos because we beat them. I think they have a better AFC West record than us, but there's still games to play. We got Colts coming up. We've already beat the Steelers. We got Browns coming up. And I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to make a move here. So
plus we already beat them.
Plus we already beat them, right? So we're in a pretty good situation. If you have to be on the outside looking in, Soto, I kind of feel like this is where we'd want to be if you have to be just outside.
Yeah, if you had to be like in the hunt section, I think we're in a good spot because we only have to jump one of the next 2 teams, and one of the teams we're going to play them again. And plus some of the teams, every single team below us in the hunt, we've either already beaten or we're going to play.
Yeah,
sometimes both. Broncos, we already beat them and we're going to play them again.
Yeah, so it's
we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, if you have to be on the outside looking in, right? Like if you have to be, if you have to be window shopping, we got a front row seat, right? So this is the Raiders' remaining schedule moving forward. Washington, Sunday, then at Kansas City, at Cleveland, home versus Denver, at Indianapolis Colts, and then we end the season at an afternoon home game with the Chargers. Now, I feel like, I think we're basically in 100% agreement that if we can get 4 wins out of the 6, almost guaranteed a playoff spot, which is how this AFC is panning out, right? Almost guaranteed a playoff spot at 10-7. Nothing's guaranteed, but at 10-7, that means not only are we just like the record 10-7, but that means we've probably beaten the other wild card guys, right? With Cleveland, like I said, Cleveland, Denver, Indy, Chargers, already in the wild card. Like if we're beating the bulk of these guys, not only are we getting our record where we need to be, but we're also knocking off the other teams that could potentially take that mantle from us.
It's going to be a wild chase to the end, and it's going to be one of those things where you think somebody's ahead, and it's like that slippery slope mountain where the guy ahead just gets pulled down by the one behind him, and then they slip all the way down. And this playoff picture can definitely look completely different moving forward, depending on a couple of things, on consistency of play, injuries, people coming back from injuries. Just
sure.
It's a very tight race when 8 wins you're in number 1 in the AFC, and 6 wins you're outside looking in. It's only 2 games, and there's most people have 6, some of them have 7. They have six games left. It's going to be a race. It's going to be a quick race down to the end.
So here's the question, and this is the pinned question of the day. We'll pin it on the comment section. Make sure you take a gander down there. What's the Raiders' record going to be in the last 6 games? Are we going to get those 4 wins, 4-2, 3-3, 2-6? Like, when you're looking at the Raiders' schedule, what do you think the record's going to be in those last 6 games? Because that's going to be obviously determining who gets into the playoffs. Rough schedule. Like, only one team with a losing record, and that's this Sunday, Washington football team. And even though they're 5-6, they're in the playoffs in the NFC. Like, that's just how the NFC is playing out. And they've won 3 in a row. Now,
they've won 3 straight.
Right? They've won 3 straight. Now, it's, again, that should be our win, of that 6. Like, I would say of the 6 remaining teams that we got playing, again, here's the schedule. That's probably the most likely win of the 6. 1, because they're the one with the losing record. 2, we got a long week playing on Thursday. Last Thursday, they got a short week playing on Monday. And I think just like their safeties are trash. They gave up like 7 or 8 passes of 12 or 13 yards from a broken Russell Wilson on Monday night. Like, just imagine what Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Deshaun Jackson are going to do against those DBs. So I like the matchup. They can run the ball really well. Like, that is obviously always going to be a concern with every team we play. But I do like the matchup. But outside of that, the second easiest game on the schedule, Denver maybe, even though like they found their stroke recently, just because we handled them so well when we played them before.
Cleveland too. Cleveland is gonna.
Cleveland's floundering. If we can force Baker Mayfield to try to play hero ball and keep the run game down,
if we can do what we did to the Cowboys running attack while we score. Now here's the problem with that one, and we're skipping ahead a little bit. We'll get to every single game, but the Cleveland defense is a whole lot better than the Cowboys defense, so it's going to be a lot harder to get. But again, in our favor, the Cowboy offense is a whole lot better than the Cleveland offense, especially right now.
Well, they're the number 1 offense in football. The Cowboys. So let's go through it one by one. So we got 6 games coming up. Washington football team, obviously, one game at a time, all the cliches, but the one game at a time cliches, that's for the coaches and players and staff to worry about. We're allowed to look ahead, right? Like, those rules don't apply to us. Like, we could do whatever we want. We don't have to focus on the next game the way that, the guys over in Las Vegas have to. So we're going to look ahead. So we'll have a full breakdown of Raiders versus Washington football team on tomorrow's regular big show. But just to kind of like look at what we got going here. Washington football team, it's also the one NFC team left for us to play. Everyone else is in the AFC. So it sucks that our easiest team is the one that has the least effect. Because like, obviously when you win, you want the double bonus, right? You want a double dip. You want you getting a win and a team that could potentially take your playoff spot to get a loss, right? Yeah. You want a double dip, right? It's like a real estate agent that buys and sells the same house. But we're only going to get one when we play Washington on Sunday, Soto.
Yeah. So jumping into Washington, their big thing is it's basically a tale of 2 seasons.
Yeah.
They started off 2-7, and they won their last 3. Now their last 3 victories aren't against slouch teams. They beat Tampa Bay, the defending champs.
That was
it was a slugfest game, and they beat Carolina. That was Cam Newton's first game back. And then this last week they beat Seattle.
Who are floundering.
Yeah, who are floundering. They've lost 8 straight. That's a tough game for them. But whenever you're going against a quarterback like Russell Wilson, with things like all that moxie and competitiveness, it's gonna be tough to put them away. And it was a close game. So looking at their defense, honestly, their defense has actually gotten better since Chase Young has gone down, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my one. That's the only one I get today.
Swear jar.
Swear jar. I'm not supposed to swear today.
Drink. Swear jar.
I only have water right now. I'll have to get a beer later.
Loser.
I know. So basically, what we're doing here is they're 23rd in points allowed in the league. So they're giving up a lot of points. But in the last 3 games, they've only given up 18 points per game. Mm-hmm. So they're really firming up against. They're trending in the right direction defensively. They haven't, and in their last 3 games, they hadn't allowed 300 total yards. That's huge because we're used to Derek Carr getting 300 yards just passing by himself.
Yeah.
These last 3 teams, and these aren't like, these aren't pushovers. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, didn't get 300 total yards. You have a Cam Newton-led offense, didn't get 300 yards. You had a Russell Wilson-led offense, didn't get 300 yards.
That Cam Newton-led offense is looking worse and worse. And that Seahawks offense is.
They did have they did have Christian McCaffrey that game, so it wasn't like he had no weapons. He still had weapons to play with. So they did, and Carolina was playing. They played good defense. Offensively, they've scored a little over 24 points a game the last 3 games. One thing that we need to take a look at: they turned the ball over once per game, 3 times. But it's their rushing attack, like you said. It's Gibson and his rushing attack. McKissick more receiving the ball. He's their second leading receiver on the team. Almost 50 receptions, about 500 yards or so. So he's their main guy out of the backfield, the third down guy. But they don't just use him on third down. So the rushing attack the last 3 games, 94 yards, 190 yards. Against the Panthers defense. So that's something to be said. And then this last game against Seattle, they ran for 152 yards. So Gibson's really coming back into form after being kind of shaky in the beginning of the year. Yeah. They also got Scary Terry and Logan Thomas, their all-world tight end last year, kind of broke out, was hurt earlier this year. He's back now.
You're making them sound so much better than they are.
I'm trying to let you know how they've been the last 3 games, and they've played a lot better football than their record shows the last 3 games.
They were begging the Seahawks to beat them on Monday, and the Seahawks just refused to. Like there was a extra point returned for a 2-point conversion. Russell Wilson drove like 96 yards in 2 minutes. Missed the 2-point conversion, got the onside kick. But then, like, a random penalty eliminated the onside kick. It was a weird, ugly game against a terrible team. I'm counting the Washington football team. I'm counting that game as a win, Raiders. I think that's the easiest one to call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we can't beat them. I'm saying that they're playing much better than their 5-7 record would suggest. Yeah. I think that Taylor Heineke having given some more snaps and having the job now. Like, hey, you're the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. He's playing okay. He needs the running game. He's good. He's not great. His max is he has a low ceiling and also has a medium floor.
The best thing about him is his last name almost sounds like Heineken. That's the best thing about him.
So in actuality, he's not terrible, but he's not going to be that great where he can take the game over himself. That's just not who he is.
After that, we got Kansas City Chiefs 7-4, first in the AFC West. They've got a semi-tough schedule, which I like to see. They've got Denver this week, then us, then the Chargers, then Pittsburgh, then Cincy, then Denver again. So this one, like this division is still wide open, even though the Chiefs are starting to look better, right? Then they're a terrible start. They're starting to kind of find their stroke again. Their defense is actually doing pretty well. They've got enough of a run where they're not going to be able to run away with this division, even though they're just ahead one game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot tighter towards the end. I mean, they're one game up right now.
That's how I like them.
They're very top heavy, and that's why they're easier to defend. Outside of Hill and Kelsey, they really don't have much else receiving wise. Hardman gets some catches here and there, but it's because they throw the ball so much. But I mean, their leading rusher's got less than 400 yards for the entire year.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire has 367. Williams has 350. I mean, they don't run the ball too terribly well. Run the ball too terribly well. They basically, their offense is get the ball to Hill, get the ball to Kelsey. That's their offense. The last 3 games, they won 4 straight.
Yeah.
Defensively, here's the thing: they are hitting their stride defensively. They don't have. It's weird how good a defense they can play with a predominantly passing offense.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you don't see an offense a quick strike offense like theirs be able to play good defense, but they've allowed the last 3 games, they're 12th in points allowed. The last 4 games, they've allowed 12 points a game, 11.8 in their 4-game winning streak. That is like Ravens 2001 level. Like that's good defensively. And that's how well they've played defensively the last 4 weeks in their winning streak. They've allowed 301 yards or less. So similar to the Washington football team in their winning streak, they're not giving up a ton of yardage, 300 yards. I think the one team's at 301 yards, like over 300 yards. Here's the deal, though.
What's the deal?
A little fool's gold. Offensively, the last 4 games, they still have 5 turnovers. So they're still turning the ball over a lot. That's one thing that we need to focus on is capitalizing on those turnovers. Like the last game, we cannot drop interceptions that Mahomes is giving us.
Yeah.
Now, offensively, they've only surpassed 300 total yards one time in their winning streak, and that was against us when they had 422 total yards. So they're not giving up a lot of yards, but they're not gaining a lot of yards either.
So Kansas City, obviously, they stomped us 41-14 when we played them. That was at home, too. So that's going to be a rough one. Chiefs always seem to just generally have our number, with the exception of last season. I'll say that one's probably the toughest game we have left, just because it's the Chiefs, just because Andy Reid just has a hard on for sticking it to the Raiders. I'd say I'd say we'd go Washington football team most likely to get a win the last 6, Chiefs least likely to get a win the last 6. After that, it's Cleveland Browns, the last of the AFC North teams that we've played, 2-1 against the AFC North. 1-2 in their last 3. They have looked very mediocre. Their run game, their vaunted run game, their incredible interior linemen, probably the best 2 backfields in football.
Shit, 3. That freaking third string back is freaking good too.
They got backs all day long, right? They got backs like a Puerto Rican chick, right? So we got to worry about that run game. But the run game's been held in check their last couple of games.
Yeah, they only had 40 yards rushing the last game. They're averaging in their last 3 games. They're averaging over 100 yards rushing, but for a running team, just 107 yards average, which was brought down mightily by last week only getting 40. But here's another thing that you need to take a look at too. Their last 3 games, they've turned the ball over 5 times in the last 3 games. Now, before we start jumping around about, Cleveland's 1-2, their one win was against Detroit. So let's not start throwing a parade for their one win, okay? That's the game. They gained the most amount of yards. They played the best defensively. Yeah, it's against a winless team. So against the other teams, against New England, against Baltimore, they looked very, very ordinary, and they couldn't really get the ball rolling. They couldn't really get their game plan up and running. And, a Belichick team will do that to you. And we saw the Ravens defense, when they get healthy, they can play some good defense there as well. So I think that the defense that we played against Dallas, if we play that same style of defense against the Browns, I don't see Baker Mayfield beating us. I don't see a healthy Baker Mayfield beating us. I definitely don't see this broken down version of Baker Mayfield beating us. But yeah, getting out front quickly, and stopping the run is going to be crucial against Cleveland.
We don't have a lot of good quarterbacks to play in this 6-game stretch. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. That's
Herbert, that's about it.
Justin Herbert, like that's it. Those are the only good quarterbacks we got to play.
Now, here's the deal. The best quarterbacks that we're facing are also the ones that turn the ball over the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a close third would be Wentz. But there's a lot of opportunity out there. The thing that we need to do, which we haven't done for long stretches, especially a 5-game stretch, is play consistent football. It's always been something, falls apart here. Or we did well in this section, or we didn't do as well on this. We did well stopping the run, but they passed all over us. Well, we stopped the pass, but they ran all over us. We got to play really consistent these last 5 games and use these last 6 games to ramp up. And if we do that, we can be in every single one, if not win, most of these games.
After that, we got Denver 2-1 in their last 3. We stomped them when we played them. Easy win. The game wasn't nearly as close as the score when we played them the first time. And we caught them like fresh after the whole John Gruden debacle, the whole email debacle, when we should have been at the nastiest. Rich Bisaccia barely, like, that head coach's office still smelt like John Gruden's cologne. And we were still able to do what we did against Denver. Again, Teddy Bridgewater, not a threat. They played solid defense, generally good all-around team, good personnel, just no good quarterback and no real good identity. And Vic Fangio is probably like second to Mike McCarthy as the worst coaches we're going to play against this season.
Yeah. What kind of jumped out at me over their last 3 games, they were 2-1, is they played their best against the good teams, and then against Philadelphia, they took the hugest dump. They made Jalen Hurts look like the second coming of Michael Vick.
Yeah,
and they gave up 386 yards total offense in that game. That's a ton, and most of it was on the ground. That was when that whole Miles Sanders comeback game. The Eagles rushed for 216 yards in that game, which is a huge amount. A lot of it was also Jalen Hurts himself. The blueprint's there. What we did last time is exactly what we have to do. We have to take the running game out of the equation with the Broncos. We have to put up points early, and we have to force Teddy Bridgewater to beat us. If we can do that, it's going to be a fairly easy game, very similar to even if it's a back and forth game, if they're still running the ball late in the game, we can still win. We probably still should win this game. But if we take the running game out of it, make them a little bit more one-dimensional, a la what we should do against the Browns, this is going to be an easier game than the Browns game.
That's a win. Let's keep rolling. Indianapolis Colts after that. Another, wild card team. Again, another like very similar team to the Broncos. Solid line, solid defense. Generally, like they're basically just one good quarterback. They're one Derek Carr away from being like deep playoff. Like that's like not even like an Aaron Rodgers away. Like just a really good like veteran quarterback. They would be a major issue for people. But with Carson Wentz back there, you're just waiting for him to throw the game away.
Honestly, if you put Heineke with the Colts, they would be in a lot better shape. Yeah. Because they don't ask their quarterback to do too much on that team, and when they get into trouble is when Wentz tries to do too much, because he will. I'm not saying he can. He will turn the ball over if you expect too much from him, and that's the Achilles heel. That's why a team like the Colts, who beats the Buffalo Bills 41-15, barely squeezes by Jacksonville 23-17. That's why they give up 331 total yards against Jacksonville, because they turn the ball over a lot. They keep their defense on the field. They're not able to use their running game all that well. That's what happened against Tampa. They just couldn't consistently keep running the ball. I mean, that was a close game, but honestly, Taylor needs to run the ball 27 plus times for them to have a really solid shot at winning a game. If you put the ball in Wentz's hands and Wentz throws the ball more than 40 times, 35, 40 times in the game, yeah, they're not going to win the game. So same blueprint against the Broncos, man. Wentz has more arm talent than Teddy Bridgewater does, but he's also a lot more careless with the football than Teddy Bridgewater is.
The Colts are 6-6, half a game behind us. Definitely going to be one of those
big games.
We win, it's a double whammy for them. And then we end the season against the Chargers, just about 20 miles from where we're sitting right now in Los Angeles. Our vacation home, right? SoFi Stadium, the Raiders' vacation home. It's essentially our 10th home game of the season, right? It's going to be obviously, 80-20 Raider fan to Charger fan, but there's a really good chance a wild card spot will be on the line. There's a pretty solid chance that the AFC West could be on the line when we play them. They're currently in the playoffs as the wild card. They'd be the 7th seed right this second, 6-5 with the tiebreaker over us. Massive game to close out the season.
What gives me hope with this game is we played one of our worst games of the season in the first half. Even worse than our first half against the Bears was the Chargers. I don't think we scored any points in that first half. Yeah. And we were still in it in the fourth quarter. If not for some bad plays in the fourth quarter, we would have made that a lot closer. But, man, that's how close that game was. And we played horribly in that game.
And I misspoke. That was the away game. But that's why I got confused. It felt like a home game at SoFi. We actually
played it is a home game
in Vegas, right? A home game, not a fake home game, a home game. Excuse me.
Yes. So defensively, they're nothing special, man. They're 29th in the league. They're giving up 26, 27 points per game. In the last 3 games, they're 1-2. They've given up 31 points a game. These are a lot of shootouts. So they have 4 turnovers in those last 3 games. They're averaging 381 yards of offense. So these are games that are going back and forth. It's the turnovers that are killing them, and it's the timely turnovers. It's the time that they're getting these turnovers. So they still have to play a couple of tough teams. They still have a couple of teams that really don't help them. They can't double dip on a couple of these guys, but they also have some layups. They got the Giants, who I don't know what the hell we were doing losing to these guys, but that should be an easy win.
Just can't win after a bye. It's against
and they got Houston. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Houston's horrible. And they got to play the Houston as well. So that doesn't matter where you play Houston, home or away, they stink.
So that's the final 6 games of the season. So this is the part that the math part that gets weird, right? So all these teams like kind of in the hunt, right? We'll count, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, Chiefs, Titans, Colts. They're all right there, but we all are playing each other. Like we just said, we're playing we're playing the Chargers, the Colts, the Broncos, the Browns, the Chiefs, their last 5 games are all teams right in that playoff hunt, right where we are. But we're not the only team that's like that. Like they're all Kansas City is playing Bronco, us, the other 3 AFC West teams, and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and they still have a second Broncos team. So they're all playing these guys. You look at the Chargers, same like you just mentioned. They still have 3 division games, 3 division games to play. It's one of those playoff scenarios where it's really not possible for one team to really blow out the rest because everyone is playing each other, and there could be a bunch of there could easily be a 4-way tie for 4, 9, and 8 teams trying to get into the playoffs. That's such a feasible scenario.
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight down to the end. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we take care of our division. Number one, we got to make sure we win those in division games. They're going to be tough against the Chiefs. But the thing is, the Chiefs aren't really pulling away. they pulled away against us because of the turnovers we had specifically in the second half. But up until Deshaun Jackson fumbled that ball, that was, a 7-point game. I mean, we could have been right back into that game. The endangered teams, I think, with 8 wins and as good as the teams that they are, the Ravens, the Patriots, and the Titans are pretty safe.
Look at the Ravens' schedule though. They have Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Green Bay, Cincinnati, LA Rams, and Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is awful. That's 2 wins.
Pittsburgh's falling apart, but the rest of them, all playoff teams.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is god awful. So there's 2 wins there. So they have 10 wins just playing Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Hanging on that 1 seed's going to be tough. The Patriots, their schedule, Buffalo still have their
play
bye.
Buffalo twice.
Twice. Indy, and then they end with Jacksonville and Miami.
Easy. So that's the thing is the AFC East is New England, Buffalo, and nothing else.
Yeah. And here's the next one. So like this is why I feel like 1, 2, and 3 are set. Like it may not be Baltimore 1, New England 2, Tennessee 3, but I think all 3 of them are going to be the top 3 seeds in some order or another, just based on their schedules coming up. Titans by Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Miami, Houston. Tennessee could easily go 5-0 in their next 5 games. Easily. With that schedule, they got to buy, and then they're going into a cake schedule. And that's without Derrick Henry. Like, even though I think they're floundering and their defense is looking great, obviously they don't have the best running back in football, but their schedule is so cake. And then obviously the Patriots have taken off, right? So like whatever the order may be, I really feel like Baltimore, New England, Tennessee are all going to take off, which is kind of what we want, right? Like we're kind of we want them to pick off these other remaining wildcard teams, right? Like we want New England to beat Indy. We want Baltimore to beat Cleveland. We want Tennessee, they're not playing anybody worth the shit, to beat Pittsburgh, right? Like that's what we want is for those top 3 teams to start picking off these wild card guys, because we're not playing any of them, right? The only one we've played is the Ravens. We already beat them. We're not playing the Pats or Titans. So like that's what we want is for these top 3 teams with their cake schedules and whatever like random hard wild card teams they have left, knock them off so we can keep jump over the top.
Yeah, honestly, I really am not super impressed with this New England winning streak.
No,
I think that they've played mistake. I wouldn't say mistake free, but low mistake football, like good defense. I mean, look at the team that they've beat in this winning streak. So they've won 6 in a row, right? But they beat the Jets. Mm-hmm. They beat the Chargers.
Are you talking to the mic, Soto? I'm over here.
Hello.
There you. Yeah, there's a sultry sounds. That's what I was looking for.
How does that sound?
How does that feel, baby?
I'm gonna throw up. Okay, so they beat the Jets. Mm-hmm. They beat the Chargers by 3 points, so that was a close win. They beat a floundering Panthers, who ended up, getting Cam Newton the next week. They beat a floundering Browns. They beat a floundering Falcons. And then they beat a floundering freaking Titans. So it's not like they're beating good teams. The next 3 weeks are going to be crucial for New England. They have the Bills, they have the Colts, and they have the Bills. So we're going to see
what they're made of.
New England is these next 3 weeks. Even the Dolphins ended up sacking up and beating the Ravens. So let's just pump our brakes a little bit, because they could be a team. New England could be a team that finishes 10-7.
I think our best case realistic scenario is we can still win the AFC West and be the 4 seed.
Honestly,
I think that's realistic, but the best case scenario.
Extremely attainable, considering
we're 1 game behind.
Yeah, considering the way Kansas City is winning these games on their winning streak, they blew out us because we beat ourselves basically at the end of that game. But the other games are really tight. They're not gaining a lot of yardage, and they're not giving up a lot of yardage. Those are really ugly games, high turnover games. They're turning the ball over, and they're getting turnovers themselves. But the offense wasn't really clicking because even after they played, even after the Chiefs played us, it wasn't like they set the world on fire after that. So it's a very, very doable task to win the West. Though the thing is we gotta stay consistent. It's boring. You hear me saying it all the time, but I mean,
I hear it more if you say it into the microphone than out into the abyss.
I'm right here. What the fudge?
There you go.
What the fudge? You hear that?
Look at you. You being an adult about it. All right.
Sorry.
So I think 4 wins, super attainable. Gets us to 10-7. Those divisional games will be obviously, it doesn't take a super genius to know those divisional games are going to be crucial, with the AFC West still absolutely up for grabs for literally all 4 teams in the AFC West. But wild card also attainable. The schedule, while tough, it does at least allow us to double dip with the wins. The top 3 teams currently in the AFC that can knock off guys that we're worried about, and they should be favorites in basically all those games. Every single wildcard team, the top 3 seeds are playing, they should be favorites. And then we should, very, very attainable to win the AFC West. Very, very possible to get the wild card. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for our regular show. Graphic Raider going to join us as a guest. We'll have our good, the bad, and the ugly from the Cowboys game. God, it was so long. It's so nice when a win comes on a Thursday, so we get to enjoy the win 3 extra days. It's a real, you know what I mean? It's like it extends that win. It's like a long, slow blow job. Just like let the experience take as long as possible.
Come on, RJ. You sound like you're in a fraternity. You're above that. Not really.
I'm not at all. But yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow for our main show. But until then, knock on wood if you're with me.